Hello everyone, welcome to Starting Out Solitary. It is Wednesday. I'm MonsoonMagick, your host for this week. And this week we are talking about books of shadows and spiritual journals. So in this video, I'm going to try to keep it actually pretty brief. I'm going to show you my collection of everything from binders to notebooks to journals to my actual book of shadows. I'm not going to do in-depth flip-throughs of really any of them, but I will give you a little bit of like how I use it and the thought process behind it. And I'm also going to talk to you about my personal beliefs on a book of shadows and how I'm creating mine and why I'm creating it the way that I am. If you're interested in seeing any of these books, journals, binders in more detail, please check out my personal channel because I will be doing a mini series where I go through each one in a lot more detail, showing you the table of contents, how I have it set up, and actually doing a much more detailed flip through with you. So let's talk about a book of shadows. This is my first book of shadows that I have started, and for me, a book of shadows it's almost a spiritual manifesto. It is a way for me to chronicle my spiritual journey and a place to chronicle it from year to year. For me, a book of shadows is very personal. I really use my intuition, and I love arts, and you can see scrapbooking, and that is a part of the spiritual process for me, which is why I've created these. Now, I have four. This is my first one, and they're for the 4 seasons throughout the year. So the season of air, season of fire, earth, and water. I started this book when we were in the season of air. Now we're in the season of fire. But this is a little bit of a labor of love, and it takes a lot of time. If you've watched my personal channel, I've done flip-throughs, and I'm actually going to do another one because I've added some more to it. But for me, a book of shadows is very personal, but it should be interactive. So you'll see I don't print things off of the internet. Not that I think there's anything wrong with that. Please don't think that I do. But for me, the way I like to use my book of shadows, I like to journal in it. I like to have information available. I like to be inspired by it. So this book will sit out throughout the season of air. And I can open it to the full moon that we're on or coming up. I can open it to my inspiration section that will have poetry and imagery related to the energy of air. I can open it up to traditional correspondences. So you can see I've got a correspondence section. I have traditional correspondences, herbal crystal, tarot correspondences. But here's where you can see the journaling really starts. And I built journal pockets in here with journal tags. Here's some more journaling here. These are the pauses that take place during the season of air. So there's 3 full moons. You have the April, May, and June full moon. And then for each one, you can see that I have a place to journal about that full moon for that year. And then I also have a card explaining why I named the moon the way that I did, because I do name the moons myself. And then every year I can add to this. So it's really, like I said, it really chronicles my spiritual journey because I can look at how did I celebrate the 2015 April full moon. And then 16 and 17 and 18, I can just keep adding to these pockets. So here's my May moon, which is the cactus blossom moon. And here's where I talk about why I named it that. And then I have my journaling card. I'm still working on this, so it's not done. But this is my book of shadows. So it doesn't necessarily have the Wiccan Read in it or the things you would expect to find in a book of shadows. It's more for inspiration and a place for me to record my spiritual progress. Now, I do have a working book of shadows, and that is here. This is a binder that I bought. And this is my working book of shadows. This is more typical, I think, of what most people would think of when they think of a book of shadows. So it does have I just kind of started it. I've been working on it. It has some of the Sabbats in here. It has the story of the Sabbat. I have sections in here on notes that I've taken on what is ritual and why do we perform ritual? What's the purpose of ritual? How to write your own ritual. This is where I do keep my rituals. I have a template that I use online. So you'll see I do a mix of online versus and crafted myself. But I do have a template that I use for my rituals, and I have printed out like 15 of them. And then I can fill in for each ritual the specifics, because the structure of the ritual never changes. Again, this is more notes, information on tools. So I have notes on altars, notes on crystal balls, notes on witches' mirrors. Then I have notes that I've taken on the full moon, the new moon, different things like that. So this is a little bit, I guess this would be a little bit more traditional in terms of how people view a Book of Shadows. I consider this my working Book of Shadows. This is almost like my textbook of Wicca and what I'm studying and what I'm learning. And this is a combination of handwritten notes that I wrote and things that I've printed off. I also have a binder for tarot, because I study tarot and I've been studying it for over a year now. And that's what goes in here. So I have notes, spreads, readings I've done, exercises, things like that. And I'll go through a separate video for that. This is another tarot journal I have. This came from tarotgirl.com, readings by Kate, and she has this awesome PDF. It's like $7, and it's a great way to get to know your cards. You can use it for tarot or oracle. I keep it in here, but with my tarot stuff, because it just kind of keeps everything together. And then I have journals, lots and lots of journals. Now, for me, I like to compartmentalize things. So I keep tarot in one place. I keep my oracle readings separate. This is just a notebook I made for myself using a composition book. I just put some decorative paper on, some stickers, and this is everything about oracle, decks that I'm using, decks that I've bought, readings that I've done for myself, readings I want to do. So everything related to oracle goes in here. Everything related to crystal divination goes in here. So I have my correspondences, my casting that I've done, everything goes in here. And again, if you want to see more detail, I'm going to do separate videos on these on my private channel. Otherwise, this video is going to be like 30 minutes long. This is a very personal spiritual journal. This one is where I journal every time I have a full moon or a ritual or a meditation or any working that I've done. I journal my experience and what I've come to know as a result, or what I'm coming to know as a result of that. So this is not, so for example, when I have a ritual that I've done, I don't put the actual ritual step by step in here. That you would find in here. But what I do put in here is my thoughts, what I'm coming to understand as a result of the ritual, any insight that I gained. So this is a very personal spiritual journal that I keep. Not filled up very much, because I only write in here when it's related to a deeper understanding, something I'm coming to know. And then finally, this one is where I take notes. I take notes while I'm reading. And so you can see I've got a tab in here. The first part was some just introductory witchy books I started reading, and I drew some pictures and stuff like that. But here's the Spiral Dance. And then while I was reading The Spiral Dance by Starhawk, I took notes and I write down the page numbers. I guess I do this because writing notes while I read, it actually helps me remember the information. It's how I learn best. It also is a quick reference back, so if I want to find a specific quote from The Spiral Dance, I don't have to like flip through the entire book. I can just scan these pages and I have the page number and the quotes here. And then this will just continue. I'm almost halfway done with it. Well, I'm probably over halfway done with this. So I'll just add another tab for the next book that I am reading, and all those notes will go in here. I just pull the most important quotes, or the quotes that I felt were really, really jumped out to me. Those are the quotes that go in here. So as you can see, I do have a Book of Shadows, but mine is a little different from what most people would consider traditional Book of Shadows, and I will have 4 of them by the time that I'm done. And then I have the ring so I can add to it and journal, and this sits on my altar and is a part of my practice. And then I have my binders. I have my working Book of Shadows binder, my tarot. I like the binders because it allows me to collect information and organize it. And I like the journals because they allow me to kind of personalize my thoughts and chronicle my journey. I would love to hear your thoughts on a Book of Shadows or your spiritual journals. And again, if you're interested in finding out more about these journals in particular, I will do some separate videos where I go through and show you how I have them set up, if you're interested in that. And I hope you all have a very, very blessed day.